If you landed here and you're between 20 and 30, you're in your first cycle of your life. That cycle is the trial cycle. That decade is the decade that you need to try everything. You know, there is an illusion in our world that we tell our kids when they're 16, 17, 18 years old that they're going to finish school, they're going to go to university, and they will have it all figured out by the time they finish their college degree. That's a lie. You know, most people who have done anything significant with their lives, they were older when they did it. They needed the experience. And I feel like university papers, except for very few professions, they're an illusion that we just give people this rat's wheel. You know, you pay for a certificate, you go and study, you get that, and then by the time you finish, you never work with the thing that you studied anyway. You don't have enough money, and you don't make enough money, and you got a school, you know, a university debt to pay for. And if you happen to make enough money, you're not happy. So why would you do that? So again, except for very few people, I would stop there. 20 to 30, you got to try everything. Go work for the people you admire. Go work for people who do things that you admire. Just volunteer yourself, do an internship, learn something different. Go travel the world. That is the best you do between 20 and 30. Then you move on to cycle number 2, which is 30 years of age, you know, between 30 and 40. After you've tried everything, you've tried a few professions, you've tried a few jobs, you've changed jobs, you've done a lot of things. After you've tried that, you kind of figure out 2 or 3 things that you're good at. It's very common to find people who are 32, 33, 35, and you know they think they're the experts, but they know a thing or two. You know, they're good at X, Y, and maybe Z, but not that many things. Those 3 things will be your funnel. They will be your primary source of the things that you could be specialized on. I don't think you should become a specialist in nowadays. We have computers and AI to do the specialist's job, but you should be a good generalist. And this is when, between 30 and 40, this is when you find out 2 or 3 things that you can do, that you can put on your tool belt and say, look, I know how to do these things. Then you move on to 40. This is the age that I'm at. I'm 41. I do feel like, having lived in 3 different countries and experienced different cultures and have done a few different things that most people don't get to do, I understand it. I'm privileged. I'm blessed. But the majority of people don't get to do that. The vast majority of people never leave their hometowns. In saying that, I feel like being 41, I've learned a few more things than most 41-year-old guys would have learned. But the decade between your 40s and your 50s is when you become a specialist. When you look at my life, for example, I could say I have specialized in communications. I love communicating. I speak in front of the camera, I speak in front of people, I speak in front of the church. Everything that I do in my life has to do with speaking. But that speaking skill, that specialty, came from those 3 or 4 things that I got good at between 30 and 40. There's a little bit of marketing, there's a little bit of sales, there's a little bit of other things that all came together to that specialty. When you reach that age, between 40 and 50, is when you reach that point that people look at you and go, oh, that's John, the plumber. They know what you do. You've done it enough. You've done it for long enough that people recognize it. Oh, that's the car mechanic, or that's the doctor such and such. They know you for what you do. That's your specialty. But you're not defined by what you do. You are who you are, and that drives and defines what you do. But it's a big element, right? It's a big philosophical discussion. We could talk about that another time. But if you keep moving on and keep growing, keep learning, because if you stop learning, you start dying. You keep learning, keep growing, keep developing. By the time you reach 50, you will start reaping the rewards. You know, it is true. The Bible says you reap what you sow. If you haven't sowed enough, you know, you should do the hard things first when you're young, so you can do the light things. If you go to medical school, for example, when you're 20, by the time you're 40, you could become a plastic surgeon, and you can take it easier and make more money working less. That's the thinking behind it. When you're 50 to 60, you're reaping those rewards. If you haven't sown, you're going to have a hard time right here. But if you have done the hard yards, if you've done the hard miles, by the time you're 50, you should be able to reap your rewards. It might not be much, but you should be able to maybe either put a deposit down on a house, or maybe have 50% of the house. But if you're not enamored with the idea of owning the house, which I don't think you should anyway, the idea of owning things in our age is very obsolete. It's more about access than ownership, but that's a conversation for another day. But you should be able to reap the rewards. In my case, I wanted to be free. Here's what I'm living right now. I live in Australia. I love what I do. I don't have a schedule. I'm free. How many people at 41 years of age can say that they're free? They can do whatever they want, whenever they want it. Am I a millionaire? Nah, I don't need to be, because money is a detail. Obviously, I would love to have more money. Everyone would, but that's not the point. The point is you're free. I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who are not free. They have to clock in and clock out, and they exchange their time for money. That's called slavery. It's just in modern terms. And I would like to encourage you not to do that. So if you're 20 or 30, you can sow now, so you can get free geographically, financially, mentally. You can be free. And then finally, you reach your 60s. The 60 years of age is the sage wisdom age. It's when you start teaching people. Most people who have anything to say, and I understand this might be a controversy because I'm 41 and I'm trying to teach you something, but most people who have anything worthy of listening, anything to say that's worthy of listening, they're 60 and above, or 60 and older. Why? Because they've lived everything. They got married, maybe they got divorced or not, they got kids, they got grandkids, they've seen all stages of life. In my age, for example, the people who are 70 and 80, for example, a bit older than 60, they've been through wars, man. They know a lot. So 60 is the age when you're finishing and you're teaching. So what's the conclusion for this? I just wanted to give you this pearl, this golden. Life is made of cycles. You should enjoy each cycle. And if you try to teach when you're 20, you won't be able to enjoy it when you're 60. When you're 20, you're learning, you're growing, you are developing, you're trying. When you're 30, you're narrowing it down. When you're 40, you're specializing. When you're 50, you're reaping. When you're 60, you're teaching. If you follow these cycles, wherever you are in this chart, wherever you are, you will live a life that is joyful, you will be fulfilled, and you'll never regret. Now, I hope you